I'm Peter Marks, recovering theater critic, now theater man about town.
And I'm Elizabeth Vincentelli, and I write for the New York Times, among other places. We're back, and when I say we, the two of us are back for another edition of Marks and Vincentelli, where it's all theater chat all the time.
Yes, you were marked absent by the theater teachers.
I had a thing.
Okay, that's fine. I don't feel bitter. On this episode, we're talking to a huge acting talent, one you're likely to have seen both on stage and screen. Drum roll, please. Our guest is Elizabeth Marvel. It's hard to know where to start. If you're a streaming series lover, maybe you know her from House of Cards or Homeland or Presumed Innocent recently with Jake Gyllenhaal.
And if you live in New York, you've seen her on stage in, I'm going to say, roughly a gazillion roles.
Right.
That's my guesstimate. She is, to this day, I've seen Streetcar Named Desire a lot. Mm-hmm. But she is my favorite Blanche.
Wow.
She really is. And I really don't think it'll be topped. And she also is my favorite Hedda Gabler. And both two shows that she did with Ivo Van Hove, I believe they made 4 shows together. They also did an amazing Little Foxes together, which absolutely was fantastic. And she's also done Broadway, of course. I think maybe her most recent Broadway show was when she was in the King Lear,
with
Glenda Jackson for Sam Gold. And one of my favorite parts by her was when she was a lizard in Edward Albee's Seascape a while ago. But today we're going to talk about a project that she actually generated, something that she came up with.
Yeah, you're going to hear Elizabeth discuss a unique event built from the testimony of 2 infamous Senate hearings. Those were the Judiciary Committee confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court of Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh that featured the devastating testimony from their accusers, Anita Hill and Christine Blasey Ford. Those events occurred almost 30 years apart, but they make up the script on one evening for this new piece called The Ford Hill Project at the Public Theater, a verbatim exploration of the hearings that really compelled America to grapple in a fundamental way with sexual assault and harassment, and both prefigured and were informed by the Me Too movement.
And the grappling was so effective that, spoiler alert, those 2 dudes were both confirmed and are justices. So, in case you've been living under a rock, I am really not going to wreck the show. It's not a thriller. We know what happened, which makes it even worse, I think. So, Beth, we're going to say Beth to differentiate from moi. She's going to describe the project, which was performed earlier this month at Woolly Mammoth Theater and is going to be at the Public Theater in Manhattan, and how that came to be, and how that allowed her to take a fresh look at something that's, I think, really traumatized a lot of people in this country.
Well, I'm glad you're here to talk about it with me, Elizabeth. I know you're off. I won't torture you with guilt for having missed an episode, but I assume that you weren't seeing much in the way of theater.
No, I was actually, because I became obsessed with the WNBA playoffs and the final, and that, believe me, is very dramatic. So I did catch a lot of theater that way.
Clark, right?
We are going to do a WNBA special episode. Like, maybe that's, I don't know. I'm going to find a way.
I look forward to it. If we can get Caitlin Clark on, our numbers will soar.
Oh my God, that is our goal. We're gonna talk to WNBA players about their theater taste. There was actually a really good women's basketball play at Lincoln Center last season. Flex was very good. I recommend it if there's like a regional that is looking for a very dynamic play for a female cast. As we know, the drama schools are overrun with women, so We always need
But
like a lot of plays. That's why they're doing like all girl versions of Newsies in high schools.
oh, we can segue anywhere,
I
can't
know,
we,
I know.
Elizabeth?
This is but anyway. Enough of that. Let's get started with today's guest, Elizabeth Marvel. Welcome, Elizabeth.
It is
Thank
great to have
you.
you on. And we're just gonna, we're gonna start grilling you.
Great.
So
Do
be
it.
prepared. But
I
but before
am.
we, good. Before we talk about Fort Hill, can you just can we talk about your acting journey a little bit?
Sure.
You went to Juilliard at a very tender age, and it's where you met your life really changed because that's where you met your husband, the great actor Bill Camp, who you've
Mm-hmm.
acted with many times, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the intervening years, we talked a little in the intro about some of your other credits, but you've stayed really committed to the stage.
Yes, I have. It's an addiction. It's a compulsion. Um, my husband and I both have to do a play at least every 2 years, or we just can't sit still.
Mm.
So yes, we do live on stage a lot and always have. Which is interesting because I actually began as a visual arts person. I was not one of those drama kids that,
Hmm.
had to be on stage and was always singing show tunes I was a weird little girl from Pennsylvania, from a weird little town. And I was very odd. And my mom had me in art class since I was 6 years old. I would be taken to the Art Institute in my town and took painting and drawing and then sculpture, and then went away to boarding school for visual art and did
Interlochen,
metal.
right?
Yeah, Interlochen. And I did metal and fiber and ceramics. And that was my jam, as the kids
Do you
say.
still do any of that?
I do. I do. Yeah, I do. I don't work with metal because that involves space
Mm.
and, tools that I just don't have easy access to in Brooklyn. Um, but my son got into some metal work. He was working at a forge the last few years in Brooklyn, which is really cool.
Wait, there's a forge in Brooklyn?
There is in Industry City.
Oh,
Yeah.
figures. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do there's a pottery in the neighborhood that I go to. So I'm always making things. I'm endlessly curious, and often it's not so much for the end result of the piece that I'm making, but just to learn how to make. I'm a maker of things, of all kinds of things in all kinds of mediums. So yes, like the other day, my husband was so delighted because we were hanging out and I took 2 tables and I collaged them and painted them while we were hanging out watching a television show. And like by the evening, he was like, "This is one of the reasons why I love you, because you just made 2 tables."
Wow.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
I
Wait,
now want to see an exhibition of your work, right? The title
Here, you know
being
what? I can
oh
show
my God.
you. No, I
the
can't.
the title could be the Marvel Universe,
Oh
and
no.
Right. There
Oh
you
my
go.
God.
yeah,
There
but
you
No.
now,
go.
so wait a minute, you have to know, for those who are listening in,
Yes.
Elizabeth Marvel is now showing us
This is a
on this
ceramic.
platform. Oh, that's
It's
gorgeous!
a
You can't
Oh
see it out
small
wow.
there.
It's
ceramic
this
thing.
beautiful
That's
blue.
beautiful colors.
Yeah, I know. I got
She's
lucky with
walking
that.
around her house
I'm sorry. This
with
is
no.
a watercolor sketch that I did.
Oh
Oh my
wow!
God.
Oh, I wish everyone could see
It looks like
this.
something out of Sweeney Todd. Is this
That's what lives in my mind. Those are a couple
okay?
of
Well,
things.
as far as I know, there's
That's
no
wonderful.
major in metal working at Juilliard. So, like,
Right,
how did you end
right.
up there?
So that's a good question. I ended up, so I got in some trouble in high school. We don't have to unpack all of that, but I did not complete my portfolio by the time I was a senior because I
Mm.
got kicked out. And so my dream was to go to Cooper Union or RISD, but I didn't have my portfolio completed, and
Huh.
I could not get out of school fast enough. So
You applied to that deadbeat school,
I
Juilliard.
applied to that like loser community
You
college.
applied to your safety school, Juilliard.
Yeah, exactly. No, I didn't. I bummed around. I went over. God, I followed the Grateful Dead for a while, and
Oh
that
my
was sort
God.
of what I did. And I made clothes and sold them, and like lived on the road and did that for a while. I ended up. My mom was living in Sicily, and so I was sort of bouncing around in Europe as well. And I ended up in London for a while. And basically, the short story of a very long tale is that my best friend from high school, from Interlaken, is a dancer. She's also a wonderful painter now. Uh, and she was at Juilliard. We went to Interlaken together, and she was a dancer. And then she went to Juilliard right out of high school. And I was talking to her. And when I was in London, I started dating a guy who was an actor and going to see a lot of theater because it was so cheap over there.
Mm.
And so I saw all of this theater, and I had one of those lightning bolt experiences. I saw Vanessa Redgrave in A Touch of the Poet. So I got a double dose of Vanessa Redgrave and Eugene O'Neill, both, which were both things that I had no experience of before. And I was in the fourth row. And it was, and I've described this before, it was like how I imagine people who got to see Houdini perform his magic. Like I saw her do this thing where she was left alone on stage and she brushed her hand across her face, and it was like watching rippling water and at the same time watching like 30 years of history sort of move across this woman's face.
Wow.
And I'd never seen anything like it. And I was like, whatever that is, I want to learn about that. I want to do that. I don't know what it is or what it means, but I want to learn about it. And I was talking to my friend later on the phone, long distance, and she was like, and I was telling her about this, and she said, "Oh, you should come to Juilliard because they have a theater program and you don't have to have, anything from high school. Like you can just go. You just have to audition. They don't care about your grades or anything. You just have to do an audition." And I was like, "Well, okay." And so she said, you should call or look at the school and fill out the forms. And then I think you have to like learn things to audition. So I saw that you had to learn a classical and a contemporary monologue. Now, being the idiot bumpkin that I was and am, I didn't know what that meant. So I went to a bookstore and bought a book of monologues. And I learned a piece of Eugene O'Neill because I saw the Eugene O'Neill play.
Right.
And it was a piece from Strange Interlude, which was a play I didn't know. But it was Nina talking about God. And I thought, I understand what she's saying. I'll learn that. I learned that. And then I thought a classical play was just an old play. So I learned a speech from Importance of Being Earnest. I learned a speech of Gwendolyn's from Importance of Being Earnest. And I went and I flew back and I auditioned in New York. And Bill, my now husband, was my audition monitor with John Benjamin Hickey. They were both doing work study, and that was their work study job, was being audition monitors. And I had a cigarette, and I went up to Bill and asked him for a light. And yep. And I was another thunderbolt moment. I was like, wow, this is my man. I don't know this man, but this is my person. And I knew it. I knew it.
Wow.
Yep. And we went into the stairwell and like smoked a cigarette, and I auditioned, and then I went and did my audition, and they were like, "But what about your classical piece?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They said Shakespeare, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know Shakespeare. I know nothing about Shakespeare." So, anyway, long story short, they let me in. And here I am 30 years later to tell the tale. It's the only job I've ever had.
But you know what? I mean, there's so much. to unpack there, but one thing that
You're
sticks with
telling me.
one thing that sticks with me is that you before turning to acting, you lived. You
Yeah.
travel, you lived, and I've got to say, I think that's missing from a lot of kids who are getting into theater right now.
I think it always has.
There's like a lot of going straight from high school to like summer camp, theater camp, and then you go to, undergrad, you get your BFA
Yeah.
and you act, and then you get a job. And it feels like there's a kind of dimension of I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's missing somehow. I wish
I
more
couldn't
people
agree
would do
more.
that.
I couldn't. Well, I think, I think there's and I know this is going to sound like I'm such an asshole, and I am, but there is a difference between being a performer and leading an artistic life. And it's a different path. And one is not better than the other.
Right.
They're
right.
just different roads.
Mhm.
And I think if you want to engage with an artistic life that's involving, all of the other art forms on a regular basis, if theatrical performance is the calling that you hear, then that's what, is your life. I never heard that clarion call. I engage with all the arts all the time, and that's just how I do it.
Beth, I'm curious. What struck me in what you were saying was that you picked up this book of monologues. You found these plays and what you said interestingly was, I understand what. Oh, I get what they're at. I don't understand what's going on there.
Yeah.
That was that sort of seems key. And maybe I didn't quite understand as well until you said that, how that would sort of inform an act that in itself is a transformation that's happening
Absolutely.
as you discover that the words mean something to you.
It's so interesting you say that, Peter, because I think that's one of the few things that I have to offer as an actor is that I take a text and I read it the way it makes sense to me, and then I sort of translate it through me. So, my Hedda Gabler was mine, and is not going to be like anybody else, for better or for worse. For better or for worse, and the same with my Blanche, same with, my Long Day's Journey, with my Mary. It's my music that I play. Again, for better or for worse. And I think that that's always been true of how I approach text. I read it for how it makes sense to me.
Well, you just mentioned a couple of shows that you did. So Streetcar and Hedda Gabler you did with Ivo Van Hove. Like you had a very fruitful collaboration with them.
We did, yeah.
And the first one, what was it? Was it like More Stately Garden? Which one was the first one?
His first one was More Stately.
That was his first one.
His first
You
one
were
in
not
New
in that.
York. Yeah,
I missed
the
that
first
one.
one in New York. Yeah, and then the next one was Streetcar, which interestingly enough was supposed to be Cherry Jones.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is wild. She is like a generation ahead of me. And Evo hates auditioning people. And I've been in auditions with him, not for me. I've been a reader. I've read with people for him, and he stares at the floor. You don't want to ever be in on an audition with him. It's not a fun experience. But anyway, he basically takes referrals. So I think when Cherry, I don't know why Cherry didn't do the show, but something else came up, and Jim sort of said, "Oh, you should hire Elizabeth." And that's how that happened, because Evo was like, "Okay, fine." And then he understood my music, and I understood his orchestration. He totally made sense to me. And I and we did that. We did Hedda, we did Alice in Bed, and we did Little Foxes. So we did 4 together.
I remember distinctly, I mean, it was not an easy sell at first because I remember distinctly seeing that streetcar, I think it was 99 at New York Theater Workshop.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And I happened to be at a performance where there was a talk back afterwards. And I think
God.
Jim Nicola was leading that because we had a lot of walkouts.
No way.
No, I know, right?
I learned like early that if you don't hear seats slapping, you're doing something wrong.
Well, they were slapping, all right. And I feel that some people stayed. I feel some people hated it, but stayed only so they could confront.
Hate talk.
Yeah, hate talk.
Yeah,
hate talk back, and it was pretty intense.
Sure.
And then, I mean, now it's easy to say, oh yeah, Ivo Van Hove, blah blah blah. But at the time, it was really, really harsh. Like the reception was so brutal.
There is nothing like taking an American classic and doing something radical with it to make American audiences get really pissed off. I mean, I had people scream at me. We would have people boo us. We had people throw things at us. It was very interesting. It was great as a young actor to experience it, honestly, because, I have great performative wherewithal because of it.
I think, Beth, you've worked with Sam Gold on Broadway, another director with strong conceptual instincts.
Yeah.
You did Goneril for him in Lear with Glenda Jackson.
Yeah.
What is
Picnic.
it? And Picnic, exactly.
Oh, yeah, Picnic.
Is that the Sebastian Stan Picnic? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Lovely man.
I still remember the gasp when he appeared with his shirt off. I mean, that was
the universal gasp.
Wow. Yeah. Well, but
God.
So what do you like the challenge of someone with a kind of wild conceit? Does that sort do you want someone to push you into a direction with a play that conforms to your own idea of the play, or someone who's telling you something that makes you think of it in a completely new way?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, I don't have a preference. What I prefer is for someone to ask me to do what I don't know how to do. And whatever context that's in, I don't care. Whatever universe we're in, whatever language is at hand, I don't care. I just love exploring and experimenting. I like to grow. I like to try. I don't mind failing. I've never minded failing. I've always understood that it is an inherent part of any creative process. And I think that's partially because I made so much art from such a young age. I made so many things with my hands. And so much of that process is tearing things apart and starting over. So when I had to incorporate my own body, I understood that I would have to tear it apart and start over, even if it was myself. So I've never been shy about making a mess.
Did you have did those early experiences of facing a very hostile audiences? I'm sure you could feel at best, like some people were just kind of startled, and at worst, as you said, there was some booing and some really strong reactions. I mean, were you kind of summoning that kind of like muscle memory? Because I'm segueing into Fort Hill, because clearly that's also performing for very hostile, well, not entirely hostile. There were some supporters, but there's also a very hostile environment where you're a woman facing this just barrage of hatred very often.
Yes.
And mistrust. Yes. And like, who do you think you are? I think a lot of it is.
Yes.
Were you kind of summoning that, or were you coming at it from another direction?
I don't think it was as purposeful as that. I don't think I was as thoughtful about it as what you're saying. Although I've certainly accessed it and, use it as an arrow in my quiver, as it were. But, I mean, it's so interesting because I've also done work with like Joanne Akalitis. I was thinking of this show I did The Rover at the Guthrie when I was very young, when I was new out of school, where she had like 12-foot inflatable penises come up on this stage. Like it was crazy, and asking audiences in Minneapolis to like ride with this early feminist piece with giant penises and then later with her, right after it was, I was thinking about this actually, because I really want to redo this piece with her that we did right after the 2016 election called Cut Piece that Yoko Ono created in the 70s, where Yoko Ono sat in a studio and had a pair of shearing scissors in her lap and invited people to come up and cut pieces of her clothes off until she was naked. And we did it. It was called Pantsuit Cut Piece that Joanne had us doing. And it was like 17 of us women. And we stood in Madison Square Park and we all had shearing scissors. And it was a very cold day. And we stood there for, I want to say 3 hours, but it may have been 2 hours. And people came and cut our pantsuits off of us. And it was very intense and terrifying. And I was thinking,
Wow.
like my stuff was cut. No one cut my bra off, but my shirt was cut
Wow.
off. And yep. And I don't know if anyone's bras were cut off. I don't think anyone did that, but they could have. But I think I've been debating, like, I just don't think we can do that now. I think someone might be stabbed.
Right. No, it's true.
But that being said, I do believe, I mean, it was like when we did Julius Caesar in the park, we were getting death threats. We had to have
You were Brutus.
dogs. Yeah. No, I was,
Cassius?
no, I was Mark Antony.
Mark Antony. Sorry. Yes.
No, that's okay. But we had to have dogs in the VOMs. We had to have metal detectors. So I say all that to say part of what I end up being involved with, it's like what I was saying to you, Elizabeth, that I don't like inviting my son, even though he's 18, to see me on stage. Because I think there's something weirdly inappropriate about a child watching their mother pretend being other people in real life, in real time and space, I think. And maybe I'm old fashioned, and I am, so I don't know. But I also, when I was saying to Elizabeth before we started taping that when I look back on the last 4 shows I've done, I've been basically naked having sex with people or shooting up drugs in every show I've done. So I tend to like end up although all I want to do is comedy, all I want to do is make people laugh. I'm actually very funny.
Have you ever done a comedy? I can't think of one.
Or a musical.
I have. I've never done a musical. Singing, I can sing because, of course, at Juilliard, we all had to be able to. I can tap a little too, but singing makes me pretty nervous. And you have to be such an athlete with your voice if you're singing. And I just don't feel that level of commitment to singing. Maybe if I do Brecht, I'll do it. But
my God. Yeah, Mother Courage. How come you haven't done that?
Oh,
You
that's
could
a
do that.
laugh riot.
Well, yeah, it's hilarious. The jokes, I mean, but also who does Brecht? Nobody does Brecht in America anymore.
No, exactly. No, that would be a great part for you. I would kill to see that. Beth. The other thing, but I was thinking, the word that was coming to my mind as you're describing this, variety, and maybe many people out there will recognize you. I mean, you're a constant presence in really prestigious streaming series too, the Homelands, the House of Cards, the Presumed Innocence. But I think you're describing almost this aspect of you as a vessel and as this channeler, because that feels so much what I saw and I'm seeing in Fort Hill.
Yeah.
That part of you, and I think it goes to that same impulse that you're describing, that you were out in that, in the acolytus piece, out in the middle, the performance piece. There's a part of you that just puts that out there, that you are, that's coming through you. And I wondered if that's where the inspiration, because you dreamed up this Ford Hill project, you brought it to Waterwell. Was there some part of you, was this a personal mission, or were you thinking of it as something, as possibly even something that Elizabeth Marvel would not be part of as an actor?
Interesting. I'll tell you, I'm going to digress for one moment because of what you brought up made me think of something. And that is that I have always had the good fortune to work directly with playwrights. My whole life, I've gotten to work with playwrights. Starting at Juilliard, Tony Kushner was working on Angels in America with us, with my fourth year class, while he was doing it on Broadway. So he would work rewrites on us and then take them to the show. So
No.
I've known Tony my entire career. I've had the
Oh my God.
great good fortune to know Tony, but also John Guare, Craig Lucas, Susan Laurie Parks. Like I've been able. I mean, there's so many. That's just the first ones that jumped to mind. But I've worked with the great American playwrights of my lifetime, and I remember talking with Susan Laurie one afternoon when we were doing Book of Grace, and I was like, she was like, I don't understand what you people do, and I was like, I know it's weird, but basically, for you, I am the canary in the coal mine. You send me in to sort of check that the air is okay and sort of what the landscape is, and then I come back and share the information. And it's something that I've always loved about my job is I love to sort of do that for playwrights and directors. Like, let me go in there and audiences, let me go in there and come back and carry the message. And we can then talk about it and figure out what to do next. And when I was during the great pause, during the pandemic, I had the great gift that none of us ever have, which was time. I feel like the great luxury of my life is to have time. And during the pandemic, because I was so fortunate not to be sick or have any of my direct loved ones get sick, I had time. And so I had time to reflect and interrogate myself as an artist. And part of me went to texts, which led me to Long Day's Journey, because I had time to say, what is important to me? What do I want to use my voice for? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to think about? What spaces do I want to put my body in? Who do I want to be in space with? And then I started sort of saying, what is meaningful to me? What do things mean to me as an actor? What do things mean to me as a woman? What do things mean to me as an American? This is a conversation you and I had, Peter. What does it mean to me to be an American? What does it mean to me to be an American citizen? And then I thought, well, the sort of civic events that have most affected me in my lifetime were the Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas hearings and the Christine Blasey Ford, Brett Kavanaugh hearings. And so that's what led me to look at the testimonies and read the transcripts. And then I realized, like, there's something very important to talk about here. And I felt my citizen self on point, and I felt my artist engaged, and I felt my woman self engaged. So I thought, okay, all of those facets of me are firing in regards to this material. So I have to engage with it. And I knew that Lee Sunday Evans was a collaborator that in this next period of my life was at the top of the people that I wanted to be in a room with, in conversation with. And I started a conversation with her around it, and she immediately engaged with it. And now we're at the public performing, and it's awesome.
Was it? Yeah, and I've seen I saw the piece at Woolly Mammoth.
You've been a champion since the first time I brought it up in conversation. You were like a fucking lit fuse.
I got it.
I so appreciate your comprehension of it, but also then your care of it. Like it just means the world to me, as it does to when your concept is comprehended by
Sure.
someone who's smart and appreciative. And so, thank you.
Oh, you're totally welcome. I wrote a piece about it for the Washington Post, I came out of hibernation to write it, and
Yep.
and
We are so grateful.
I'm just curious, Beth. There is that sense in the piece. The way it's put together. And I know that it started as just one voice. It was just one of the testimonies. You decided at some point in the development of the piece to make it both. It started as just the Ford
Just
hearing,
the Ford
correct?
Kavanaugh hearings. Yep. And we made a complete piece of that, which was very successful in and of itself. It was very interesting, that piece alone. But Lee and I continued the conversation and just kept wrestling with this idea of should it be in conversation with the Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas hearing. And it just kept nagging at us. Like, we didn't want to be reductive with the Hill Thomas hearing. We didn't want to diminish anything. We didn't, it was like, do you do one act, one hearing, act two, the second hearing? That seemed somehow reductive and wrong. But yet it kept sort of returning to us that they were so in conversation with each other in so many ways. Not only are there so many of the same players in both hearings, which there are, but there are so many of the same things said.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many of the same things experienced by both women, and because of where we are in our national conversation around body autonomy and the Supreme Court, we felt that there was something historical that was necessary. There was something about the perspective of the, Black and brown women being represented in this conversation, that it not just be a white woman talking about these issues. And so far, it seems that our instincts are right in this regard, that the opening of the iris has been a strength for the piece.
So you have 4 actors in there, right? Can you talk a little bit about how that's organized? Because I haven't seen the piece. I'm going to go next when it's in New York. But you talk a little bit about how, apparently, the lines are not fixed the way one might expect them to be.
That's right. It's not a docudrama. We are not reenacting the hearings. It's something that needs to be experienced. It's hard to explain. We are only speaking the text from the hearings. Nothing is added or subtracted. It is only the words that the people spoke. But it is not in the order that they spoke them in necessarily. It's intercut a lot. And we also change. So sometimes I am speaking what different men said. Sometimes I'm speaking what different women said. Sometimes the male actors are embodying Christine Blasey Ford and Anita Hill. Sometimes they're embodying Joe Biden and Lindsey Graham. Sometimes they're embodying Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh. Sometimes I'm embodying Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh and Lindsey Graham and Joe Biden. It moves. And so I think that also asks something much more from the audience as far as attention, concentration, but also engagement as an audience member and as a a member of the American population, as a member of this civics exercise. I think, but and then it goes even deeper, that it's literally, you are watching us walk in each other's shoes. You are experiencing us having an act of compassion in real time. And we are asking you to do the same on a certain level.
What's really fascinating, one of the fascinating outcomes, and this has been brought out even in the discussions in D.C. At each of the performances, by the way, there are discussions with the audience, which are crucial. But Elizabeth, Elizabeth Vincentelli, I'm mentioned this too. One of the interesting aspects of this is that this regendering of the roles brings out something really astonishing that I didn't even realize when I watched the first time, which is, the women testifying, Blasey Ford and Hill, speak in very clinical, direct,
very scientific,
unemotionally direct terms. They are describing events, and the men, Thomas and Kavanaugh, are emotional and histrionic and out of sort of control of their emotions, which feels like a reversal of the stereotypes of how men and women are presumed to behave, and it's that aspect of it that I imagine, from your perspective, Beth, was a surprise. That was a discovery.
It was a great motivator in wanting to put it on the stage, because I found that while I was reading the transcripts to be fascinating. When I ungendered who was speaking, I was like, wow, you would not, when you take away the Lindsey Graham of Lindsey Graham's testimony,
oh my God,
you definitely would assume it's some hysterical woman, just in like the most gross way. You would say, well, this is a histrionic woman. This is crazy. But it's not. It's, it's a very...
Do not give her the nuclear codes.
Correct. That's correct.
Yes. Exactly. Good for you. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, it's what kind of feedback did you get from the men in the cast, Dylan Baker and Eric Berryman? Like, when you started working on the show, like, what kind of stuff did they tell you that they were going through having to play that?
I think they have had the same, jaw-dropping experience that we all have. They're both, I mean, you'd have to ask them. I don't really want to speak for them, but definitely having them in the room, I think, the whole exercise has been a sociological exercise for them in sort of gender politics and what is normative behavior, and consciousness raising for all of us. I have to say, I've been forced to look at my own misogyny in this process, because I realized during a conversation, we did a little sort of salon performance to do some fundraising. And it was very interesting because afterwards, I was talking to someone who was saying, oh, her daughter, who's, in her 20s, doesn't understand how women would ever allow themselves to be in this position, that this day and age, there's no way that she would tolerate this kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, but she is. She's in America. She's tolerating it. She's watching it. She's participated in a government that has it running the government. I mean, misogyny is, you can't underestimate it in America. So she's participating with it every day of her life. So you can't say you wouldn't tolerate it. You are. And I had to sort of reckon with my own, realizing like, wow, when the whole Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton scandal went down, I rolled my eyes in regards to Monica Lewinsky. I made Monica Lewinsky jokes. I was right in there with my, my dudes like being just as nasty about her. And I've really had to like take that apart and look at that power dynamic and realize, wow, my own, I mean, the Me Too movement has been so radical for me to look at my own sort of digested misogyny as an actress in this profession and the amount of shit that I have eaten unconsciously for decades. And I'm not even a woman that has had success by wearing bikinis. You know what I mean? I'm not an ingenue. Like I've been a character actress most of my life, and I've had to eat buckets full of shit. So it's
That's
really
the title of our podcast now. We're renaming
Buckets
it
Full of
Buckets
Shit.
Full of Shit.
I just had a question. One thing we should bring up is that there is a through line from the Ivo van Hove technologically adept idea of theater to this one. This one mimics a little bit a style that was popularized on Broadway by Lucas Nath's play Dana H.
Well, which owes everything to the Worcester Group.
Which owes everything exactly. But forgive me, exactly.
No, that's okay.
It really goes back to the Worcester Group. But what happens in this production is that each of the actors is wearing earpieces into which the voices of the actual participants in the hearings their recordings are being filtered into their brains.
That's right.
And you're actually speaking almost in tandem with the real person's voice.
That's correct. There's a master mix that's been made by our brilliant sound designer, and it's all cut from the actual testimony from C-SPAN. And so we are speaking, it's being fed into our ears and coming out of our mouths almost simultaneously. We're like probably 5-second delay from the brain and the mouth connecting.
And it sounds like it would be helpful at some level, but I imagine also it's a challenge.
I would find that even harder, actually. Can you not be distracted?
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's amazing. At the end of our performances, I am exhausted in a way that I have never been before because it takes such concentration and focus. And what you realize is, like, you used the word channeling before, Peter, and that's really what this experience is. It's like, it's just moving through you. So you have no time to become like a clever performer, like, oh, look at what I'm going to do. I have this great little trick I'm going to pull out. Like, you just are hanging on. You get on the roller coaster,
right.
The bar closes over you, and you don't stop until you get off the roller coaster.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is fascinating.
I am I'm speechless, which rarely happens, as Peter can.
So I guess we should let you go, Beth. But what's the you're doing 5 performances, right?
5 performances. They just added one at the Public. Yep, in the Ansbacher Theater.
And what do you want this? How does this piece? I understand. I think they actually are filming it. No,
we are filming it. Yep, it's being filmed. You can get tickets at thepublictheater.org. And we are there October 15th through the 20th. And then there will be a future life. You can follow the future life of the project. It's the Fort Hill Project, and you can go to Waterwell and find it at Waterwell. Donate to Waterwell, which is an amazing organization that does all kinds of community service and theater performance work. And we are hoping to take this to colleges, community centers all over the country and teach young people about their own history, teach neo-feminists about their own history, because it's amazing how many young people don't know Anita Hill's story. Some don't even know Christine Blasey Ford's story. And that's okay. You don't have to be a neo-feminist to have a dog in this fight. It's just about citizenship, and also about how we live in community, how we treat each other, and how laws affect us, and how we affect the law.
Beautiful.
Wow, you could be a an actor or something.
I could be a politician and I play one on TV.
Politician.
I know, it's true.
Hey, have you played? Okay, have you played a president?
Yes.
Couple of times.
She played it on Homeland.
Okay, I don't think I was on board at that.
That's
point
okay.
in Homeland.
That's all
There's
right.
too
God.
much.
She
I
was-
know.
I understand.
I know.
Yes, I've been presidents, I've been senators, I've been attorney generals, I've been
beautiful.
I've been military generals,
Oh,
which is hilarious for this little deadhead from Pennsylvania. It's funny.
you're covering all the branches of government. I love it.
That's right. Although I'm actually just a dirtbag criminal, really, at heart. I'm just an outlaw at heart.
Have you played that? Have you played like a thriller where you were like the bad? Like
I have.
Oh, and what?
I've played. In the Bourne Legacy, I've been a villain. On
God,
this
of course.
TV show called Hellstrom, I've been a demon. Like I've been the devil.
Yeah, you've been a president and the devil. You're
played
like
the white
going
keys
to
and
the
the
top.
black keys on the piano. I've played them all.
She played the one-armed survivor in True
In
Grit.
True Grit.
God,
right.
no. We could do the. I'm telling you, the Marvel universe is something we have
I've
to.
been
sort
around
of,
for a while.
Yeah. Well, listen.
and an iguana on stage.
That's right.
Oh
When I
my
was
God, Seascape.
Seascape.
6 months pregnant. I was 6 months pregnant on Broadway. I carried my child literally on Broadway doing
And
Seascape.
that lizard.
In a lizard
weren't
suit.
you guys blue? You were blue, right? Like weren't
Blue
you blue?
and green. Blue and green. Yep. And they had
What
to
a
build
sight.
a sandbox in the wings because I had such bad morning sickness. I would throw up all the time. So I would scuttle over to the wings, throw up, scuttle back, carry on doing an Edward Albee play.
This is the definition of trooper.
Yes.
Vomiting during the performance. That's the.
They don't teach you that at Juilliard.
I was gonna say you don't learn that. You don't learn that in the scene study. I'll tell you that. Anyway.
What a
listen,
pleasure, guys. Thank
Yes,
you
this
so
is
much.
so much fun.
Thank you
This is
so
so
much.
much fun.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Elizabeth Marvel, for being our guest.
You got it.
This goes in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Thank you.
100%.
All right. Bye.
Well, Beth is involved in a fascinating endeavor, and it's one of those shows that it adds a layer to the conversation that this country needs to have, especially in an election year. And I know you love Elizabeth talking to Elizabeth Marvel.
Oh, I'm such a huge fan of hers. And ever since I saw that streetcar, in fact, like that was like a huge earthquake, theatrical earthquake for me. It's been really incredibly influential on the way I think about theater. And I really wish there was some kind of recording of it. So, because I wonder how I would see it now these years after. Like, would I still think it's, unfortunately with theater, we don't usually have that chance to revisit, or thinking about a show that we saw a while ago and how influential and how much he weighed on us. So I'll have to live with the memory. We should totally, we should have her back with her husband, Bill Camp.
I agree. They are a real theater couple. They are the real deal. And two people of that caliber, they constantly raise the bar with each other. So I would love that. We have to carve out an opportune moment.
Oh, we'll do that. Okay. I think we're done for today. It's incredible. Another one. Until next time, this is Mark Sanvincentelli, and you can subscribe to our inexhaustible, slight exaggeration, but not that much because our catalog is growing, especially now that we're on a kind of more regular schedule. Thanks to our ace producer, Adam Gold. Thank God for Adam. That's all I'll say. I am grateful every day for his patience and good humor. So you can subscribe. You can find us on Substack at marksvincentelli.substack.com. And we're on social media under a real name. You can easily find us. Till then, I'm Elizabeth Vincentelli.
And I'm the other one. Be with you again soon.